We're joined by Chicago State head coach Tracy Dildy. Coach, can you just start out by telling us about your team and your expectations for the season?
Okay, first I'd like to just thank God for this opportunity. Again, like I say all the time, I'm living a blissful dream. Being able to work with young adults and young men like I get to do every day, that's just a blessing. So I'm very thankful for that. Our goals are the same, where our goal is to win the conference tournament, and be playing in the NCAA tournament in March.
You returned 2 starters from last year, but only about a third of your scoring and rebounding. Who will you look to be your leader this year?
Well, I'll tell you, I think we have actually addition by subtraction. And like I've told people, this is probably the most talent we have had since we have been at Chicago State, going into my 6th season. And this is clearly the most talent I've had there. The leadership that we expect is going to come from the 2 returning guys, the returning starters. When you talk about Jared and you talk about Trayvon, those are the 2 guys that we have given the captain roles to, and Josh Baskin. Those 3 guys who was on the team a year ago, and so they have went through the conference. They are very familiar with the system and the expectations. You know, they know the expectations of the program, and so we put a lot of responsibility on those 3 guys. But I'm really excited about this whole group. I really believe this is a good group that's going to do something really special. I think this is the group that's going to really set the trademark of, you know, where Chicago State men's basketball program go from this year. And our goal is to contend and for the conference championship year in and year out. And I'm really confident that this group can do that.
A number of rules changes in both men's and women's basketball this year. On the men's side, 30-second shot clock's probably the most noticeable. Can you talk about some of the rules changes and how you expect them to change the way you coach and the game in general?
Well, I tell you, the biggest rule change that's probably going to affect us is the closely guard 5-second rule. Because we try to really apply a lot of pressure, and we really try to put a lot of pressure on the ball. So that rule is going to probably have the biggest effect on just the way we play. But other than that, we're going to make the adjustments. I don't know if they're considered major changes. We've been practicing under the new rules since we have started practice. So I don't see anything else kind of really affecting us other than the closely guard rule.
Last year, you led the WAC and ranked 15th in the nation in steals per game. Can we expect that same kind of pestering defense this year?
Yes, you can, and we got a lot of bodies this year that actually can play that way, and that is the type of way that, you know, we think we're going to have the most success. We excited. Our guys are energetic guys, and you know, we like to describe our program as a player-friendly style, and so that's the style that we live and die by. And you know, our goal is to each year, you know, to go in games where we can just make it hard on the opposing team.
You have 9 newcomers on your team this season. Are there any specifically that you expect to have an immediate impact?
Out of the incoming guys we're expecting at least 7 of them to play major minutes. We're expecting the great things out of the 7. We think those guys are a special group. And the way we were able to get guys, guys being homesick, guys needing extra time to just to get academics together, and so they was late starters. So normally the guys that we have brought in, I don't know in the past if these would be guys that we would be able to recruit when you talk about from a talent standpoint. And I can't say it enough that this is clearly the most talent we have had since we have been there, and I'm just excited. We got, you know, depth, we got leadership, we got a lot of what I would say the Chicago toughness when you talk about former public league guys, and so I think that's the making of a good team. As long as I stay out of their way, I think they could do something special.
You led right into my next question. You have 5 players on the roster that played in the Chicago Public League. Can you talk about recruiting local kids and being able to tap into that historic Chicago market?
I think it's huge, and you know, I've been accused of being biased, and I'm guilty because you know, I'm one of the guys to think that, you know, Chicago was born. I mean, basketball was born in Chicago. I think it was born in the public league, and so I'm guilty of those charges of being biased in that area. So I feel really good to have, you know, the Chicago local guys on the roster, former public league. With me being a former public leaguer myself, you know, I tend to, you know, really, you know, take a lot of pride in trying to get Chicago inner city kids.
You have several non-conference games against competition from the state of Illinois, and then you face 8 teams that competed in the postseason last year. Can you just talk about your out-of-conference schedule as a whole?
Well, our philosophy is to try to make our non-conference schedule as tough as possible, and we do it for just a reason to just prepare us for the conference. I think the WAC is probably one of the best conferences that I've ever coached in, and the talent level and just the competitiveness, I think is, you know, it's as good as any conference. And so our whole goal when we are scheduling is, hey, let's play a tough non-conference just so it can prepare us for the conference.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you guys, and God bless.